I don't know if you heard the news. I mean, there was a good bit of news out last week, including, the news out of the Justice Department that they have decided not to pursue prosecution against Andrew McCabe, which this is on one particular, as commentators have pointed out, including Trey Gowdy, this is on one particular discrete set of facts. But, hey, it's a pretty important set of facts, and that is when Andrew McCabe lied to the FBI multiple times over, quite a long period of time, like 6 or 8 months. He got interviewed several times. At least 3 of the times he was interviewed, he was actually put under oath. And, I mean, here's the deputy director of the FBI, so nobody knows better than him the fact that lying to the FBI is a crime. And what they were trying to investigate is whether or not he had anything to do with leaking some stories to the New York Times, basically stories that cast him in a more favorable light as part of the Clinton investigation. So without getting into all the details, he was leaking part of an ongoing investigation. Remember that sacred thing. You can't even ask about ongoing investigations. They certainly couldn't give you any details about it, except when they want to leak things out that make themselves look better. They can do that. But more to the point, then afterwards, when the FBI catches on and assumes, well, it's probably got to be him that leaked the stuff out. I mean, it makes the most sense, right? And they go start questioning him about it. And he says, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. No, it wasn't me. Absolutely not. And he does this. And then they think, well, let's go back and let's raise the stakes with him a little bit. Let's put him under oath. And they do that. And then let's put him under oath again. And let's do it again. They put him under oath 3 times. And all 3 times he lies to them. And it causes them, according to their own testimony, the FBI agents themselves who were running the investigation into the leaks, it causes them to go off and start to try to look at other possible sources of this leaked information. And according to what the lead agent on the investigation said, they spent a lot of time, wasted, quote unquote, a lot of resources looking into this, and they could have avoided all that if Andrew McCabe had been honest with them, as he was required to do by law and as he well knew he was required to do. Now, keep in mind, these are the same people that want General Flynn to go to jail for some period of time now because he supposedly lied to the FBI, even though he wasn't put under oath. He wasn't given any warning whatsoever that he was the subject of an investigation. And in fact, we understand the original reports from that interview actually say by the 2 investigating agents who were there, one of whom was Peter Strzok and one of whom was a guy named Joseph Pientka III, who is known as Supervisory Special Agent. You're not allowed to say his name, quote unquote. It's under court order for those people who are involved in the court case, which, of course, doesn't apply to us, doesn't apply to the media at large. And his name is out there. It's well known by folks that are knowledgeable of sort of the granular level details of this stuff, that he was the other FBI agent that went and interviewed General Flynn. Well, apparently when he and Peter Strzok came back and they wrote up their 302s, which is the FBI's way of recording an interview, right, is they come back and they write their notes down about what you said and stuff like that. Now, silly me, what would I think? I think, why don't you just record the interview, right? Take a tape recorder. I mean, wouldn't that make the most sense? But no, that's not how we're going to do it. We're going to have the FBI agents come back and write down what you said. And that's one good reason you never really probably want to talk to the FBI without your lawyer present or some kind of record to have the interview actually transcribed so that you can prove what you actually said and what you didn't say. Because if you don't have that there, like General Flynn didn't, then you know what's going to happen. Whatever they said in their little 302 report that you said becomes what you said for all intents and purposes, and that's what we see playing out.
You don't get a chance to sign off on that?
They don't run it by you, but you know who they do run it by? They spent several weeks editing this 302, and you know who got to have the final say on the edits? Andrew McCabe.
I figured that.
Oh, I mean, he wasn't even there. What part does he have to have any part in the edits? Well, it's called he has part of the setup of General Flynn. So they want to put General Flynn in jail for 6 months, so he pled guilty. That's a real complicated story. I mean, if you really look into the details of that, they didn't give him any of the information. He didn't even, frankly, remember exactly what he'd said. And so he assumed if they told him that he'd done something wrong, he assumed that he must have done something wrong. He must have not remembered something properly when they came and asked him about it, okay? But now the guy who's the deputy director of the FBI, he does it 3 times in a row under oath, even more than that in total, but 3 times in a row under oath, he's found guilty of official misconduct by the Inspector General report, but the Justice Department has decided not to even prosecute him. Not to even prosecute him at all. Meanwhile, they're talking about wanting to throw Roger Stone in jail for 7 to 9 years, basically a death sentence for that guy. And these are very complicated matters, and it's really sad to me to see that people seem to look at these matters and they just read the headlines. And I got a couple friends I was talking to over the weekend, and they really come from the more liberal perspective. And boy, they are just up in arms about putting Roger Stone in jail. And he lied to Congress. I mean, are you kidding me? Do you know how many people have been caught lying to Congress? James Comey's been caught lying to Congress. John Brennan's been caught lying to Congress. James Clapper's been caught lying to Congress. And these guys have all lied to the FBI probably as well. We don't have all those interview records, but we're sure they probably said the same things to the FBI, which have now been proven to be false. So they just lie and they lie and they lie. And when they're in the Department of Just Us, the in crowd, the Department of Just Us, they get away with it. But if it's you and me or anybody else or certainly anybody even remotely connected to President Trump, off with their head. Off with their head is the answer. And, anyway, it's kind of interesting because you see these folks who are really anti-Trump. We shouldn't really say liberal because they're not actually all that liberal, but they're anti-Trump. And they want these guys like General Flynn and Roger Stone to serve jail time. But then I ask them, what about Andrew McCabe? Shouldn't he? I mean, he did actually more than what they are alleged to have done.
And what do they say?
They say it's nonsense. That's what they say. Oh, that's not true. McCabe's a good guy, and they don't have an actual knowledge of the factual details. Why? Because the media covers it up. They don't tell it to you. You got to go out and dig for it to get to some of this stuff. And, and this kind of reminds me, and I'll tell you what, it's hard to have conversations with these people, frankly. They're so committed to their position, and they're so, what's the right word, militant about it? They're angry about it. It's war.
Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And remember that we recommend that you exercise your brain at least once a week.